Welcome all to the September 21st meeting of the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners. As always, we'll open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've got minutes from September 7th meeting. I commented already, she was really wordy with this one. Jen was really wordy with this one.
What went on?
There was a lot.
There was a lot of words said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's,
No. The first one was an hour though, almost an hour on that first one, so it was lengthy.
This is chapters, chapter one. We need midnight.
okay, let's,
Anyone make a motion to accept the minutes of September 7th?
I'll second the motion.
motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Abstain, I know I wasn't here.
Okay, so it's 4-0-1. Okay. Warrant articles for the October town meeting. We've got as I understand it, we've got three that need to go up. Yeah. Still working on the numbers for the dump truck?
No, I got them.
You do?
You should have an insert that I put in after with the new numbers. It should have been maybe on the left side of your folder.
Superintendent's report.
This one?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, yeah. The first article, or not essentially in that order, is going to be for $200,000 for the lead and copper survey, material survey program with the tie-in bond.
I don't have it. Okay.
That, I think, I don't have the report or not. That's going to be fully forgived by SRS funding. We just have to have the money up front for it, and then we'll get reimbursed. So it has to come into a warrant article for approval. The other one, the next one is, it's up to the board on this one, but I thought it'd be a good idea to just have a $100,000 line item available for retained earnings for any unforeseen situations that may arise with any of the projects coming up. Right now, we've been having issues during the course of the other ones, with little things that pop up that we have to fix or replace or add on to, something on our sides. So it's just there for approval. Doesn't have to be used, but it's just available funds.
You're
Just
talking about for
anything on the
the building projects.
anything on the building projects, the main projects, the whole entire scheme. Just to word it that infrastructure for the distribution system during the tank projects and that, and as we go on, just as a backup.
You don't have an
So it's not
account
for
number.
general, it's not for general expenses, it's just for,
Just for anything that's unforeseen.
Projects.
In any of the projects that we have.
Cost overruns.
Yeah, anything that we can't foresee that, I'm not even sure that's enough, but.
that would be
I think
outside
that'd be
the, well, I mean, most of it would be within the project anyways, but
Where in the budget is it gonna go? You know, what,
It just holds in retained earnings if we
you
need
gotta,
it.
No, it has to go-
it has to go in
account
all
number.
that.
You're talking about for that.
So it could be like a capital outlay.
Capital,
or-
it'd be a capital, and then if we don't use it, it would go
because it
back.
doesn't say the account number here.
Because I didn't know yet.
We don't
that's
know
all.
yet.
yeah, they're still working.
No, you have to tell me where you want it to go.
Yeah, it would go in capital.
In capital.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure the board,
Okay.
if it was okay with the board with that amount, if they want to know more or less, or not at all, so I didn't,
I just don't want to get in the habit of having, for lack of a better term, a slush fund sitting out there.
yeah. It's not something we're gonna do every day, it's just something, just while we have these projects. Things are happening.
Probably a good idea.
What project is finishing before May?
We got the tank project still ongoing, the main breaks, materials for that. I don't know what to expect further on down the line come winter time. Coming into the next season, the main project's gonna start happening. I believe that's gonna be starting before the next meetings,
They're talking about starting that project in March.
early
Yeah,
March.
but we got a May town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but-
Well, that'll be within the SRF funding source anyways. There's nothing that's gonna come out of that we're gonna,
Right, but what I'm saying is why do we need to budget 100,000 if it's SRF loans, funding, it's all projects that were
So-
approved?
Sometimes we've been having issues where we've been having to replace things that are our problem because we uncover them
Oh, I know, yeah.
as we go. I mean, like I said, it's up to the board. I'm just playing a little bit because we've been running into all sorts of things that have been popping up on us real
Yes,
quick,
right.
so.
I don't think it's gonna be buy a new lawnmower or anything.
No,
It's gonna
just
be
if I
emergency.
need it for that type of work, something that we found that we need to do and fix.
something like having to buy extra PRVs
Yeah,
or,
but I'm sure we discussed that at the annual budget meeting last time, that Brian had money in there to cover incidental.
I think in the capital we had some, but like I said,
But I want to say, I thought it was somewhere around 100,000 that
it's around
he had
100,000 and
budgeted extra already.
I wanted to throw.
oh, that's right, you're right.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure yet if we come to the end of that use of that money. We have a lot of materials out there that we used and some other parts and stuff we had to buy. But like I said, it's not a major deal. If that'll cover it and you're fine with that, we'll hold it at that and not.
I mean, like I said, I think we still have, if we find issues and things happen, we have Springtown meeting.
Do we have, what do we have in retained earnings?
I think
That's
it's
what I was
around
gonna ask too.
7,
Nope, water is 991,360,
oh, thank you.
and sewer is 842,93.
But as part of the rate setting, that was gonna result in some creeping up of the
842.
retained earnings in anticipation of the fact that as things come due,
You would need it to
that's
pay.
gonna drop down to offset some of that cost so that the rates are going up more incrementally.
But do we know,
That went up quite a bit
is
this
any of
year.
this reserved for debt, reserved for system
None of it's
development?
reserved for anything,
Just for,
but it was done to the way the way that rate schedule is set is to try to be more incremental, so we're not
Well,
having a huge jump all in one
yeah,
year.
you could table it, Mr. Chairman, till next spring then, see how you, if you think that you had that $100,000 in the budget, table it till the following Springtown meeting, if we get through the winter.
We'll have to see what,
where we end up, because the Route 31 tank should be completed in another month, right? And that way the system will be working the way it's supposed to work.
Right, and I think that we did
I thought I think you're
but we
right.
also did significant borrowings that we borrowed and then came under budget and then had money left over. So,
I'm deeply concerned about this main project coming up, and I'll leave it at that. I'm just
Yeah,
very
but-
concerned.
like I said, we have money that's left over from other projects, and typically you want to clear those up on the books. So if you had something that any of these projects caused problems and added cost, you would transfer to clear up the old debt that's sitting there, because you usually can't clear that until it's another like project. And you transfer all those into one fund that covers overages. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You want to, like I said, keep it, like it's food for thought from past experience of having to, shell out some dough, but
When do you
I'm
have to have
fine with
the
that.
articles in
If
by?
the 100 in there is going to be enough to.
Another week.
No, Friday,
Oh, this Friday?
Friday.
Boy, they gave a whole lot of notice, didn't they?
Yeah,
It's
tell me
very
about it.
crunched.
Would you hurt us if we put some extra
Is-
in?
Is it required to have the full article ready, or is it just the placeholders are due this Friday?
No,
I'm-
warrant closes.
Okay.
Though that was, I know it was closing for citizens petitions,
And
but,
it's, he wants as much possible in.
well, as much as possible.
Oh, we're being, I know you still have a meeting, but we're being told everything needs to be in by Friday.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, would it hurt us to put some extra in there? Maybe not 100,000, but
that's up to, and I understand George's concern.
well, you're being proactive, and I like that.
Having some funds available so that we're not having to deplete, but I think Bob was right, and I believe we did put extra into capital.
There's an extra 50,000 in capital.
I think that was just one line item. I think we had it.
No, capital has 150,000 now.
I know, I'm just saying that I think we added an extra 50 in the capital, but I think
Right.
there was an extra 40 or 50
Added.
other
Yeah, budget-wise.
areas budget-wise. I think we also budgeted a ton of money for meters, but we're mostly done with the meter replacement program, won't we?
No way.
No,
Still a long way to go.
We got a while to go yet with meters. I'll tell you what, we'll hold it at that. Leave it what we got, and if we have a problem,
Well, do we know where we stand with the budget right now?
there's some other ticket items that we're paying on now, such as large amounts of materials. We bought some new saw, bunch of stuff. Something was for the other meeting, but I haven't got the full thing yet. They're coming in left and right. Bates Tank too, there was some work that was done over there.
So that was one of the reasons that I had said we should probably have a revenue report and an expense report for each meeting, so we can kind of see where we stand percentage-wise within the budget. You know, we know what day of the year we're at, you can factor what percentage of the year
Right.
that is, and then see where we stand
we used to do that.
percentage-wise with
We
the,
used to get a budget every month and be able to see the percentage.
because if we had that, it'd be easier to determine that, yeah, we're a little behind the 8 ball right now, so we need to,
We just don't have all the.
I mean, the stuff that they're spending on isn't something that you can curb, unfortunately.
No.
There's a ton of water main breaks, but we could see it and say, yeah, we could justify this article, but
Right.
without knowing where we stand, it's kind of hard to just,
Okay, and what about the dump truck?
Yeah, 3 bids went out for the dump truck. I had received nothing from Mac, even after talking to him numerous times, and he was giving me a 2-year wait. And I was also getting,
I heard you don't want Mac anyway.
I don't want Mac anyway, because it was, Highway had it, they're not very happy with them at all. The other ones came in was Freightliner and a Western Star. Highway's getting Western Stars. I've driven Western Stars, and I think they're a good truck. And the dump bodies are the same, either or truck chassis, 67,000 for Madigan. Madigan is the better truck body to have right now, and MHQ's having their problems. So the total price on the truck for a Western Star is $244,672.50. That's truck chassis with a Madigan body on it. All equipped also for paving, a hot box, a hydraulic tank for when you use it for paving.
That's Northern Star?
Western Star.
Western Star.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a 12 to 14 yarder, which means it's double the capacity of the one we have now, which is the one we're beating to hell, filling it with slop and heavy rock. We also think we can get a good bidding price on that other truck for landscapers like trucks like that to do landscaping work with, and it's still got some life for that.
What did you get for a price from?
It was the other one was 230 something.
That's a Freightliner?
That was with a Freightliner chassis. The boxes were the same. The bodies were the same. Yeah, it was I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses with me, so 244 and 225, around 226 for the Freightliner. They're really not a comparable truck. Western Star is also within our repair distance. 15 miles to get Western Star repaired 24/7. Freightliner, the dealer itself is further out. Mac is down the street, but if the guy isn't bothering you with a quote, I I'm not too
You just
happy
sent,
with
you
that.
just sent out for requests for proposals?
The proposal bids for specs for, with all the, what we were getting in it, what we have, truck body and lights, stuff like that, full warning.
I just don't know what the Massachusetts procurement laws, if you can just go out and get a price like that. Typically, you have to put it on combis if it's over 100,000. So you put the specs in, you put it out on combis, and then whoever bids on it,
No, highway's getting the trucks that they want through their,
through state bid list or something?
state bidding. Yep,
It's all on the state bid list?
yep. He's actually the guy that did their trucks. So, and right now, the truck that we have is a 2003. Parts are very hard to come for it right now. They don't make the parts for a 7500 series anymore. It's a light-duty truck. When we got it, it's only a 6-wheel chassis. The springs are, I mean, the wheels are, the tires are all just about done on it. The springs are pretty much done on it. Some other things we just fixed on it just to keep the warning lights going. And hit some issues that we had to send over to Dudley Diesel to keep that going. He said he barely could find a part for it. The object of this is because we play a game of long-distance travels whenever we go out on a job past the Mason Road area or past further West Dudley or whatever like that. We're racking up a lot of time waiting for the truck to go dump material or pick up material or what have you. He's carrying over the road and we're filling it to the brim to try to get the most out of it, and it's spilling out a lot on the road, trying to go, and he's leaning and tipping, and it's just not a truck that we can keep doing the things we're doing with and get a main brake fixed in good timing for people to get their water back. It relies a lot on that. So this should help us a lot.
What's,
What's the difference in price between the 10-wheeler and a 6-wheeler?
I didn't even price into a 6-wheeler. I was just putting me back in the same area I am with that truck I have
Just
now.
curious.
Yeah.
You know what the biggest yardage, cubic yards would be on a big 6-wheeler?
6 to 8, if you fully load it.
6 to 8.
Like I said, it's not a matter of the fact if we're loading just dirt and regular loam or sand or gravel, on which we put a lot on, but when you're talking heavy, I mean, you've seen the size of the rock.
with the wet stuff, yeah.
The wet stuff and the rocks I pull out of the thing, it's not good. It's not good. But that was the final article, that's the final warrant article.
Was set a limit, that,
Mr. Chairman, we're gonna need one.
I know we need it.
If not today, very soon, so
And it's gonna, did they, either one of these give an indication as to lead time?
Timeframe, we should have this one by 2023, sometime towards next, by the main project or just after. Sometime before the summer, we should get this one.
Okay. So, the sum of what, 250?
I put in for 250, just for radios or anything else we want to add on to it for an option if we have it. May not need it at all, but just going a little bit higher.
Anything left over could go back in retained earnings?
I recommend saying new dump truck and ancillary equipment
Yeah.
or something, just,
It'll be worded
It'll
appropriately.
be outfitted, you know?
with appropriate equipment.
Yeah, we're added accessory equipment on radios and stuff.
All right, so, and that'll be borrowed,
Retained earnings.
retained earnings?
Yes.
Okay. If that were the case, then, oh, that's me.
Somebody's in the back room.
Wondering where that noise was coming from. I was dragging a piece of paper across it. Okay, so, yeah, that, we don't want to complete retained earnings knowing that it's, okay. And then the, what do we want to do about, same thing with the lead and copper, retained earnings?
Yeah, I really don't, I hate to do, I mean, the town treasurer was telling, we were talking a bit about borrowing quickly for that, which he recommended.
So I was gonna say, I'd
And I
probably
think
recommend
I
a
was gonna
short-
try
A
for
short-term
short-term borrowing, and I thought that was a good idea. So I thought
Okay.
I'd like to put in for that.
There's a little bit of bond fees, but
Yeah, but nothing that'll,
Yeah.
you know,
it helps the credit rating.
yeah.
Actually, we are, well, actually, yeah, that's short-term and it's gonna be reimbursed. Okay, so that would be, all right. So, do we need to have a motion on that?
Yes, I need a motion on
Okay.
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to put an article on for $250,000 for a new dump truck with all the equipment.
Does that include a plow, George?
What's that?
Does that include a plow?
No plow for that, no. We don't,
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
Okay, motion's been made, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
And that's from retained earnings.
That's from retained earnings.
Thank you.
I would leave the article written as is, though. Raise, appropriate, borrow, transfer.
Okay, all right, so motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
thank you.
All right, so we need one for the lead and copper program. Did you all receive the packet from Ty and Bond with the proposal? It is all here, it's all in this packet. I read through it, it's pretty comprehensive.
Mr. Chairman?
And they're suggesting that we borrow 200,000.
Well, we have to fund.
We have to fund 200,000. It will be, actually, so we have to fund it,
We have to appropriate it at town meeting,
and then,
then we're applying for the SRF.
I think I'm not sure if we fund it first and they return
Right,
the money
so
or something like
you
that.
fund for the SRF, and the way I would recommend, because I would never spend this much money.
yeah,
If it was coming out of our funds to do what they want, because I think it's ridiculous what they're requiring, but it is a requirement. We fund it. If we don't get approved for the SRF, I'd say we don't move forward. That would be my recommendation.
right.
But if we get approved through the SRF, then it'll be 100% principal forgiveness.
Sure.
So,
Mr. Chairman?
We're basically a grant.
I did attend the CIP meeting last night. I also put myself on the tail end of it for the articles just to be looked at. There was some talk about that lead and copper. And you could understand, like the PFAS, there was a lot of resistance about it. The understanding of it was perfectly clear by me that it was state requiring that and the
Right.
deadlines there. So that's why we had the tie and bond go in and mail to the board too. So I'm going back there on the 3rd to just go before the FAA and CIP again for the articles that we have with
Aren't you
those.
on CIP?
Yeah,
Well,
but at that time I abstained and went into it, but
one of us can
No,
go and,
he recuses himself.
I recuse myself every time I have to make a presentation for the water sewer,
Recuse from the
which is fine. But they did get the information, Jen sent the information to all of them, so they're going through it now.
all right.
Because we didn't have anything really in their hand.
Okay, so that's $200,000 and that is short-term borrowing.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to fund the lead service line project for the amount of $200,000.
second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. All right. So, let's see. There we go. Policies for review. Actually, before we get into the policies, I'd like to take number 6 briefly. Webster True Up, it's still in the hands of, they did respond, and actually their response is here, to the questions from our consultant. And we are waiting on a response from our consultant. I was gonna try to get a hold of him today, and it just didn't happen because of work, but we'll need to I'll see if I can reach out to him and find out if he needs more information or if where we're at. Webster also sent us some other information that is also in here, but to me, it looks like it's just a copy of last year's budget. It doesn't seem to really be pertinent to anything that we would be able to use for considering true-up costs for last year. It does indicate that they're more interested in staying up to date, which is a good thing. But see if I can get that. I'll get with Mr. Brinkman and see if we can get, or Dan, if you could get with him, see if he needs more information, see if he's ready to make a recommendation or not, and maybe we can get him to our next meeting. If we're at that point, I don't want to bring him down, bring him in if it's still going back and forth between them, but I also want to stay on top of it too, because it's just been hanging out there for too long. That's warrant articles. Okay, anybody else have anything else on the true up? Okay, policies. A group of them here. Meter pits. We looked at this before, didn't we?
I think we've discussed it. I don't
Yeah,
think we actually
Discussed it,
had
I
it.
just made a draft,
We didn't have it actually written out.
just a draft copy, if you can change it or do whatever you like with
There
it.
is a date on the bottom, is approved. Huh?
It just was copied over.
Okay. How does that look for,
Awful long time.
okay,
Could you not, in this, if the first notice that you put on the door tag, on the bottom of the door
we're
tag,
talking about the meter pits at the moment.
Mr. Chairman, on the meter pits, I think what's good, it was brought up, I never knew there was a fiberglass one available, custom made on the market. In the past, we've made everyone make one up out of concrete cylinders or whatever, so it's to our benefit to know that fiberglass unit's out there for contractors to use. And, you know, we've been down this road before where people had did not have a meter pit, and they were 200-300 feet off the road and had a water leak for
Yeah,
for years at our expense.
Right.
So it's very crucial that these are installed.
That one at 45 Mill Road, that house is 300 feet away. It never was done, so we did it.
Town Farm Road too, way back.
We put a meter pit in there.
Yeah.
the only question I have, is in question is bullet 5. You're the only person who can, the
No.
superintendent's the only person?
No, that should be superintendent or subordinate.
Or designated.
Designated, so, yeah, like Luke or Brian have the authority to inspect and review. That's pretty much common in all our, or same
Okay,
in
but just
sewer.
if it says, okay,
To be honest with you, I think this was part of the thing I talked about before and coming up with a spec book. If you just spec the one that you accept, and it's in our specs as that's what's accepted in the town,
Yeah, we have,
so that they're all the same. If you pick a Ford meter box,
we'd love to do that, but right now, they can't get meter pits in for like a year. And the only reason why we were able to get some, they hand make them up at Ty Sales right now, and it's the only way people are getting them through us, through Ty Sales. I mean, I know what you're saying, until this parts dilemma straightens out a little bit, we have to be a little bit flexible, as long as they conform to what we're looking for the mounting.
but I would say if you pick the ones you want, there's no reason you can't buy a couple of them just so that you're not in that wait.
Yeah, I was thinking of,
You could supply it and charge them for it, just like meters or,
I was thinking of purchasing maybe 1 or 2 this winter while we have a lag, and just to stockpile some things, like I'm stockpiling materials for brakes and stuff. Because it's gonna get worse, it's not gonna get better.
Cement or the fiberglass?
Fiberglass,
Fiberglass, yeah.
and they're pretty reasonable considering some of the ones out there. That
and they're designed for it, so
Yeah.
the pipes are already designed.
already have to come
inside.
up and they self-heating from the bottom, so you can work at it right there.
Yeah, if you looked at them, you'd swear they were gonna freeze, just because the meter's fairly close to the surface, but just the design of it, it takes the heat from down low enough.
yeah.
And they work, I've never seen one freeze, so.
Okay, what's our pleasure with that? Looks good to me.
Well, if we put a certain fiberglass model in, you know what's sure to happen in a year or two. It's gonna be discontinued and another model's gonna replace it or something on that theory,
But it's,
you know?
but you stick with like if it's a Ford meter box, I mean, it's like hydrants, you use Clow hydrants, do you have any other acceptable hydrants in town, or is it only Clow?
Only cloud basically, yeah.
So they specify which one, so if you pick a Ford meter hydrant, or a Ford hydrant box, or meter box.
pit.
Okay. Everything's
Well,
one
take
and
the
same.
word cement out and put that particular Ford.
Well, that's what I was saying,
Fiberglass
if you
wood.
pick the model that you want, and that way, if you get a broken cover,
Yeah.
or broken parts inside, it's compatible, you only have to stock a couple of them. And like I said, if you keep 1 or 2 in stock, and one goes down, at least you can repair parts, so they're not out of water for 6 months, because you can't get the parts. But you don't wanna stock parts for 30 of them.
No. Okay,
So do you wanna change that to?
I would put a specific model in there, and I know what you're saying, I mean, I don't know if you wanna leave a disclosure statement in there that, you know, another pit could be approved by the water department upon, like, a waiver or something, I don't know how you wanna word it, but like you
Well,
said.
that's where at the bottom, all approvals, whenever anything approved is approved by us before use.
Right, but I was saying you could avoid the approval process if they're installing an already approved model. Like I said, so if you have one that's acceptable in your specs, they don't even need to get approval, it's just you order it. If they want something outside the approved one through the specs, then they would have to come in and request.
so as part
permission
of
to
their
use-
building, they can just put the meter pit in place,
Right, request an alternate because they can't obtain a Ford.
if they know what's required. I don't know all the parts and different manufacturers and all of that. So what,
Do you wanna change that? Now's the time.
It's just hard to do it because it doesn't have the model and the brand or the different that you
Well,
want.
these are house-made, so there's real no, and they could change it again, I don't.
Like I said, if we approve it and leave leave it in there that it can be, a waiver can be granted through the water department for a different model, that gets you through this process, so that if you need them right now, like you said, you're having them made up, you can install those now, but in the future, when they become available, or you have a couple in stock, then you can stick to the one that's required.
So do we want to hold this off for,
Well,
for,
everything is pretty basic on it, we can put something on the bottom if you wanna add on other than approved, water department approved grants will be evaluated or whatever, if something's different. We'll have to approve it. If it's not a recommend, an approved one that we recommend. Something to that effect.
What do you want number 3 to say?
I mean, I don't like that it says made from cement or fiberglass.
I'll get rid of from cement.
Yeah, if I was you, I wouldn't want a cement one. They're just harder to work with.
But if we get rid of the cement there, and then on line 5, we add superintendent has to allow other brands.
yeah, we don't know,
Approve an alternate if necessary or something like that.
okay. So we're striking the words from cement or, and I would like to add the words or designee on number 5.
I would say all meter pits shall be large enough to allow for proper service or repair work.
Yep, yeah, that's in,
Strike that.
oh, you want to take that out?
No, strike the middle stuff, but keep.
Yeah, just the words from cement or.
Yeah.
Strike that out. Meter pits will be made of,
Made of.
I would say meter pits shall be large enough.
and be large enough to allow for proper service and or repair work.
And number 4, you got embedded in stone for proper drainage, but do we need to specify like how much stone?
No, I mean, like I said, people talk to us and they ask us anyway, how you want it, I mean, you know,
This is like,
But again, if you're.
6 inches, you put 6 inches of
right,
stone.
but this is, we give this in procedure, and okay, if it's written down, you need 6 inches, they know.
Right, you should kind of state if you want, 3/4 minus, inch and a half minus. So explain what you want for a base.
Yeah, this could
Because some
be-
stuff drains
They
better
could
than
be,
others.
they could be,
Yeah, if they throw.
3/4
They
good
throw
drainage
tailings
stone.
in
It's
there,
one of-
then it's not gonna work very well.
let's
For
take,
a meter pit,
Giant broken off pieces.
yeah. Even for me to pit 2 inches of 3/4 inch stone is fine for that pit, for draining of that pit. So I would just, if you wanna put that in there, that's fine.
6 inches of 3/4 inch stone, something like that.
That's a lot though, yeah, we gotta keep it a little bit down.
But if you're talking about an area this big.
Yeah.
It's $5 in stone. It's not like you're going crazy. But you want proper bedding so it sits right.
so
You want it compacted correctly.
what's
so
proper?
Probably, anywhere between 4 and 6 inches is plenty.
5 inches of 3/4 stone? Is that okay?
I'd say
Just
4 to
put in
6
4 to
inches.
6.
Put it right in there.
Okay.
Of,
Because that would leave that'd leave Brian room to go out there and say, oh, you're only 5 and 1/8.
yeah, 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 I mean, 4 to 6 inches,
Violation.
4 to 6 inches.
Make it improve, make it.
3/4 inch,
Yeah.
3/4 inch stone. Okay. Okay,
You add the number 5 that
yeah, that's,
he has put,
or designee, yep.
okay.
Okay, so, huh?
What Tom talked about,
What's that?
With what?
the exemption.
Yeah, so it's gonna be added to number 5, the exception.
All meter pits will be approved, that
Right.
kind of a,
No,
Well, the
he's-
superintendent has
Yes.
authority to make exceptions upon inventory or something, whatever. Right? Because we don't wanna,
Well, all of this is saying is that we want it to be made of fiberglass.
right, but if somebody can't get fiberglass for a year and a half, then we're gonna have to allow them to put cement in. I'm just,
Right, that's why I said you need some kind of escape clause for him to be able to
Okay.
approve something.
Okay?
I mean, I would avoid saying the cement or fiberglass, and I would just say the meter pit. I mean, personally, I would say I'd pick a model that you like and say that's the one that we use, and then leave the option for him to approve an alternate if not readily available or something. But, like I said, I would stock a couple of them, that way no one can say they're not readily available, and you don't start ending up with everyone, oh, I can't get one, and, you know, because we'll end up, I mean, you saw it with the TIG station, Barbado, I mean, they used the excuse that, you know, they couldn't get the valves. I called in the meeting, I could have got them all for them that day, but they didn't want to use our vendor, they want to use their vendor, because they get a better price, and I said, well, just replace ours. And they didn't want to do that, so you'll run into that, if you leave it too open, you'll run into them saying, oh, well, that's not who I buy stuff through, I always buy it through this vendor.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly anymore.
Right, I mean, that'd be like, if you told them, oh, you could use, you know, you have to use a Clow hydrant unless they're not available, and then somebody comes in and says, oh, well, my vendor's EJP, and they only sell Kennedy hydrants.
that wasn't us, because, High Sales have a model number in
Oh.
Do you know what
we just
brand
stopped
Ty
last
Sales
meeting.
carries?
That's their own homemade, it's Ty Sales brand. They don't have it stamped, but
You don't buy it off the market anywhere?
wherever they buy it from, it's unknown. They have all the parts, they make
They
it
just buy
in-house.
parts and create it?
Yeah.
I'm not really, I'm not fond of that, just because like I keep saying Ford, but they're the ones that created a meter pit, but they designed it, and it's designed so that it's easy to remove the meter.
That's how these are designed.
Everything goes, and it's designed to capture the heat properly because of the taper and everything else, so I don't know what Ty Sales are, so.
Exactly what you described, just that.
But there's engineering and guarantees with an actual one that's designed for it as opposed to the homemade one.
Okay,
And I would venture to guess that
so
Ty Sales.
what do we wanna do with this? Do we wanna push it tonight, or do we wanna hold it and,
Well, I would say get it close,
yep,
approve what we can, and we can do our first revision.
okay,
Before he goes out there.
all right, so.
I'm just saying, if you wanna have it in place in case you have
I've
some.
marked it up so I can give it to you. Okay, all right. Any further revisions? Okay, revision of 3 to remove cement. Revision of 4 to spell out 4 to 6 inches of 3/4 inch stone. And number 5, adding or designee, as an alternate can be approved by the water sewer superintendent. Anything else?
So I don't know if you wanna add anything to this, George, if you're putting a meter pit and it's something where they've got irrigation, or if you're going into, I mean, cause you put building or structure, it could be something that has chemicals or something. I don't know if you wanted to consider putting something to add a backflow prevention, if you wanted it internal.
I mean,
I'm just,
we do that, if we feel that's necessary, we tell them straight out that you have to put one in there. Everybody comes to us anyway, no matter what, on meter pits and stuff, so we can see where it is, where they want to do, how they want to do it. We pretty much cover those bases.
Backflow prevention, if it's like for a lawn sprinkler system, it has to be 12
I know, it
inches
has to be
above
above the highest head,
So
but-
now that's on the exterior of the building. Then if it had to be a RPZ testable device, you're supposed to have the product on standby next to it. You wouldn't see an RPZ out Unless the meter pit was the size of one of yours.
But there's-
Your concrete chambers.
There's
you
some
know?
towns that have containment policies where they put a backflow device on every service. And they're installed ahead of time, so I know what you're saying, because we run into that same
If
issue.
the backflow device fails and it starts leaking and running, how are you gonna know it if it's in the meter pit?
Right. Now, I'm just saying, if that's something that you wanna have in there so that it gives you the leverage to say, you know, oh, we're gonna require a backflow.
I
device.
thought that by me, anything approved by me would cover that anyway, for anything like, you know, we wanna add or delete or change or. I was trying to
I
keep
was
it
just-
simple as,
I'm just throwing it out there, we can do another policy if you get to that point, but.
we need a dictionary.
Okay, so where are we at? Do we have a motion to approve this
Approve with corrections.
with corrections?
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve policy number W003.001
With corrections.
with corrections. Sorry.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Oh, that's, sorry. Step 2 on the bottom. Okay, subdivision multifamily connection.
The purpose doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the purpose should state the purpose of the policy, not be the beginning of it. Like the purpose of the last one that says anyone that's 100 feet or more from the foundation to the curb stop will be required to install a meter pit. That's the purpose. This one is just a lead into the statements. We haven't seen this one before, have we?
No,
No, this doesn't look familiar.
I think we had started to talk about it, that we need a policy in place, but I don't think we
Yeah,
elaborated at all.
This is not so much a policy, but it's also a guide.
What's a procedure?
Procedure kind of, you know, is to assist the contractors of our requirements.
Why don't we just state
Yeah.
that as the
Right,
purpose?
so the purpose is to
Establish procedures.
establish,
Or establish procedures.
proper, yeah,
Contractor construction companies wishing.
to inform a contractor or construction company wishing to connect a new subdivision or multifamily unit
I think it should read, the
Connect-
purpose of this policy is
to the,
inform the
not into,
contractor
connected to the municipal water or sewer infrastructure.
of the procedures required in order to
Okay,
connect to the infrastructure.
okay, that, I mean, the first one, you know, do they need to submit plans to other boards before they come to us?
Yes, so you always go through you're supposed to go through a chain of boards.
Okay,
and then-
but I mean, does that have to be part of our procedure?
Well, it is if they come to us first.
Yes, them.
I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. It should, and that should be not, rather than a full architectural plan, it should be a stamped, should it be stamped?
I believe that's what we ran into a problem with last time. The
Right.
plans that you got were different than the plans that they were saying. And we didn't look at what,
It's the right thing to do to stamp or approve it, but sometimes they've been going to these other boards and they've been going through it, well, we'll table it, then they're moving off to other boards with these plans that are not been officially approved or stamped by, another board. And we get the kind of the small little half-drawn ones and, that's what we're trying to avoid anyway, make sure they go through these other boards, get approved, or if you wanna put stamp for approval, yeah. That's basically
Well,
what it
we
would
could
be.
add in there that the water and sewer department will be the last,
We should be one of the last.
the last, and the plans need to be stamped.
Yeah.
That's what this policy's for, to let them know exactly what to do.
So, okay, the following town boards prior to coming to the Water Sewer Commission meeting. Okay, and so they have to submit a plan to us in advance, okay.
so why, I would think you'd probably wanna start looking at them prior to them going through all these things, because if they get planning board approval, conservation approval.
And then we change something, then it's gotta go back
CBA.
to all of them again.
Well, we usually have them come to us, we give us a plan, we look at it, we tell them, recommend what we want. They move on to the other boards with there's other regular plan and our incorporated lines or
Okay,
whatever.
but that doesn't say that
I was
here.
gonna say, but what you said in number one was developers must first submit a full plan to all the other boards.
Well, they have to have a plan too. I mean, it's usually they come to us. The other plans, the plans that they're sending to the other boards are in the other board's hands at that point, and they have them. How will they act on them, I don't know, that's.
Well, that happened with the one where the fire chief made a change to a plan after it came to us, and then it caused a problem.
Could they? I'm just,
But they also can't get it all approved if
No.
we say, no, you don't have water and sewer.
Right.
So, it's like the chicken
Right.
and the egg.
I know.
It seems like that just doesn't seem, it should be more of a collaborative effort.
I just
know-
think that you wanna start looking at the plans as soon as you
Well,
can to give
if
yourself
you
time.
If you just read number one, it just says,
All the-
they will submit full plans to the boards. We can add at the bottom that we're gonna be the final write-off on it, if you know what I mean? It's,
The planning board, when they get plans for subdivision and things, they send each department a copy of the plans that they receive,
Okay.
and we get them in the office.
Okay, so that seems more,
It's been a long time since we've gotten any
I
subdivisions or.
think I'd have to go back to that meeting that we had, and it was on, I can't remember which project that was. It was the one, I think, that did they switch owners?
Yeah, they bought it, the other people bought it out.
Yeah, and they
That was
came in-
Truman Ave.
The
That's
one up there, the Country Club
Truman.
Acres.
Country Club
Country
Estates.
Club and Truman,
Yeah,
both of them were
but they
bought out.
came in saying that you approved it,
Truman Ave.
and it wasn't, I think that was the one that they ran a 6-inch main or an 8-inch main.
Oh, they ran off the
With the
road.
hydrant.
Yeah, we just wanted to go off the road 20 feet, 40 feet or something like that. They ran what, 100 feet or?
No, it was like 800 feet.
That was-
800 feet of
that was
8-inch true
Truman.
hydrant.
Right, and it's,
And that was because.
the whole thing that
the
started
fire
all
chief-
up was the fire chief said that he wanted a hydrant halfway down or something, and
And we
the
didn't
way it
want-
was, it wouldn't work. You wanted the hydrant up at the beginning,
Right.
so that's why I'm saying you kinda have to, you need to look at it and determine if it's even possible to put an 8-inch main down this line, and it can provide the flows and the pressure and
So,
everything else.
yeah, I think they go to the planning board first, and then from there, they're the clearinghouse. And they should be sending plans to each one of the appropriate, and they do, that's what they do now.
Oh, did that change? Okay, good.
They send it to
That's-
conservation, they send it to ZBA, they send it to,
Didn't you guys go to electronic permitting?
Yes.
So you
But
got
the
open
planning-
gov?
Yes, but the planning board still has not gone to, they are still all paper, and they send around paper plans.
Really?
Yeah.
okay. So, yeah, so that,
That's just crazy, man. You got open gov, that's a permitting software. They upload all the plans, they upload everything.
Just a matter
You
of,
can review everything.
If I can't read the plans, it goes back and gets done again. That's the new thing in the water department, even the sewer. Can't read them, and they don't make sense, then do it again and have the guy in there and say, this is what we want you to do.
that's,
And it doesn't matter about what goes to, I mean, they already had their plans, it's fine. But somehow the wording doesn't get back to the planning board sometimes, and it needs to.
well, that's why we actually should be probably working with them to make sure that this all jives with what they,
If you tell me if you write what you want, I will send a letter to the planner so that we have written documentation of what they're looking for.
sure.
Just that way you have a paper trail to cover.
I mean, it's okay if they want to get a set of plans, the guy first wants to drop them off there and do, but I want a set of plans that I can read and view with somebody so that we understand fully what they want, what they're looking for, and what we're looking for.
Right.
So it's actually a meeting first of us before it comes here. It should be,
Oh, anytime somebody comes, I always tell them to get in touch with you
get in touch with us.
first.
We actually go
Yep.
to the site a lot.
Yep.
And, you know,
Well,
with the sewer.
that should all be done
Yeah.
in developing of the plans.
Oh, yeah.
But before we approve, we're gonna approve connection, it needs to, everything needs to be, like I said, the plans need to be stamped by an architect, by an engineer. It needs to have touched all the people that need to touch it. You know, the number two, that bullet should be the last one, about fees.
On number two. What do you mean?
That's fees, so yeah, move that down.
Yeah, but on number two though, it's, brought to the Water Sewer Commission and approved. I think we should add, if we need to send the plans to somebody else to the
Peer
review.
review.
So that's what I said, we need to have it added for like a 53G account to have our consultants.
That's why we
review
need to
plans.
work with the planning board to,
We do have that account.
I'm just saying that we need it in our policy that funds need to be set aside for our engineers to review the plans to make sure it meets all of, you know, AWWA and our requirements.
53,
A 53G account, that's, they put a certain amount of money into it so that it can have all the peer reviews and everything that may need to be done. And then as that fund goes down, they tell them, hey, we're running out of money, you gotta replenish it. Just to make sure all the,
that's for a water sewer peer review.
that's, yeah, but that counts
Yeah,
for everything.
yeah, it covers everything. Okay.
They just, we've got it, it's gotta be written in here, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of work to do on this one.
Yeah. Because I'm not sure that you want to state that all water main work for new subdivision or multifamily units will require minimum pipe size of 8-inch.
We talk about that, Bob, that's what I wanted to get over. We've always done any water main extension, yes, 8-inch, because there might be a hydrant, and there might be several properties. But you can't make a multifamily with an 8-inch water main
That's what I was gonna say,
100
if you-
feet off the road.
Well,
That goes-
multifamily is,
I'll say a four-family, the house next door gets sold and someone tears it down and puts they need
no,
a,
it wasn't intention for a small, like, yeah, it's more like country
yeah, but, okay,
estates
but I mean,
type of
but
setup.
water services
But
would
this
need a
says, but this says
three-quarter.
multifamily unit right in the
So
beginning.
if a guy wants to build
Yeah,
a three-family, you got a 6-inch water main in the street, and you're gonna make him bring in an 8-inch water main and reduce it to 3/4 inch for.
Right. That's
No.
That's not worded properly.
why I'm saying that's something that if we have the review done by the engineers to review plans, they'll say, oh, an 8-inch or a 2-inch line isn't sufficient. It has to be a 6-inch to meet all the requirements. I mean,
Because you're also finding sprinkler systems in a lot of these four families and above, and they might have a 2-inch water main feeding the sprinkler system,
Right.
and maybe a 1-inch water main feeding the domestic water use, so.
so-
That multifamily word has to be reworked, but diameter-wise.
that's why I'm saying and if you tell them it's an 8-inch line and say that 3-family he's talking about is 1,500 feet off the road, now you're running an 8-inch line in and it's essentially a driveway. So now, you're so far in,
Yeah, it's-
Those houses on countryside, what do they call that place? On Airport Road are multi-family houses
No, they're
spread out.
single family. They're
No,
single
they're two
family.
families per house.
no, no.
Yeah, the townhouse
family.
joints.
Some of them are.
But they
some of them
feed
aren't.
off a 6-inch, we have an 8-inch main going through there as their main trunk line.
Some
Yes,
of
but
them-
that's a water main extension because you're tied in
Yeah,
on both
but I mean,
ends.
I'm not talking about going into an individual house.
coming into their
with a
house with
6-inch,
an
but-
8-inch.
No, that's not what that was.
No.
I'm just saying that an 8-inch could essentially be oversized. If you're not turning the water over enough, you could have water that's sitting there for a week before it gets to the customer, and then you're just gonna have water quality issues,
I
so.
mean, the object of the game in those areas is to upgrade those lines sooner or later, so that's already gonna be an upgraded line, you know, to tie in both sides when we get, one's a 12, one's a 6. That 6 should be out of there sometime in the future, at least for an 8.
Right, but that's
8 to
where,
10, whatever.
if you keep that section out of there and kinda don't dictate what size, through the peer review, through your engineers, they should look at it and say,
Review will
hey.
determine that.
They might say, oh, the main coming all the way down Alton Drive needs to be replaced in order to do that. Because you won't have sufficient reliability or quality or whatever. So that's why you do that review. And it might make a project not feasible, but, you know, that's not our point right now, is not to make their project feasible. It's to make sure the system's operating correctly. So if it means they've got to do $1 million in upgrades to get to that project in order to make it a project that we can reliably send them water, then that's what needs to be done. But that's why you would have the engineers review it, and being PEs, and they can stamp plans, and they're, you know, a professional engineer. And if it's their opinion that that's what needs to be done, then, you know, that's what needs to be done. I just think that you're arbitrarily picking 8-inch.
No, I can see your
Science
theory,
behind it.
you know, you're sick of
Theory
6-inch
is
water,
to
you're sick of.
instead of people moaning and groaning, wow, they had a 6, like you have a 6, is try to just put it in the fact that we're trying to upgrade piping.
Yeah.
So we try to keep a minimum of 8.
You're sick of your 6-inch water mains all over town. You want the 8-inch.
I mean, if you want to pull it out,
But
pull it
not
out. but I
8-inch
mean-
feeding an individual property.
That's what I mean, it's gotta be sized appropriately, that's the key.
Even like,
And that will come out of that'll come out of your peer review.
even like on your 3/4 and 1-inch, there are some bigger homes in town that are putting 1.5-inch water meters, 1.5-inch water mains to get
they
the
don't.
volume into the house.
Right.
The larger home, so you have to have some wordage, you know, not so much 3/4, will be a minimum of 3/4 or 1-inch, depending on fixture load, what else is
But again,
required.
So, okay.
You want some kind of design
Oh,
coming from an engineer, because like I had one customer that wanted to put a 2-inch service in for a single-family house. I'm like, you don't need, you got 80 pounds of pressure right there, there's no reason you need a 2-inch. He's like, I want one. So I'm like, all right, fine, put it in, but
Here's the fee structure.
the fee structure's a lot more for a 2-inch
a lot of
service.
this, okay, we've got we're trying to set up a policy here. Do we really want to get into the nitty-gritty in the policy, or that should that be more in a spec?
So that's one of the things I would, and that's why I keep going back to, we need to get the specs done. Like you say, 8-inch, and you say ductile iron, American iron, and steel. And, yeah, so you're asking for American iron and steel ductile, but you're not putting a class in there. I mean, I would say class 52 ductile
53,
iron,
that's
because class 52 is rated for
But
250
that's
PSI,
not
but
something to be put in a policy, that's something to put in a
in
specification.
the specs. And then you would just refer to must meet all standard specs,
Must meet
approved
specs.
standard specs.
I didn't want to try to get too crazy with it, I just wanted to, this is anything, just a draft anyway. It's just to
Right,
throw
so-
the ideas out.
To avoid that, you know, adding all this language about has to be ductile iron, American iron, you just put must meet town of Dudley standard specs. So in your standard spec
In the
book,
standard spec.
it'll say you need ductile iron pipe, you need a clow hydrant, you need, you know, it specifies all that in there, and you shorten these policies up. And you're saying it here, but you might not be saying it somewhere else.
That's
Where
where,
if you just refer to the specs every time, it's consistent.
you know,
Yeah, but those are.
you put that specifics in this,
Yeah.
in this spec,
Multifamily.
and then you have another, I mean, this policy, then you have another
Single
policy
family,
that
each
you
own
might
one.
interweave with it, and you don't have it there, now you've got muddy.
Right, and that's what I mean.
All muddy.
If you're just saying this here, someone can come in here and put standard class ductile iron, which is only rated for 150 PSI. You don't want that, so
Okay,
you gotta avoid saying certain things in singular policies and just always refer to the specs.
the specs, and the specs should be general. We use, as you said, clow hydrants, we use
that
8 and,
52.
you know,
Yeah, class 52 ductile iron,
ductile iron pipe. We
American
use,
made, you don't want
right.
Chinese.
We use-
ductile iron.
you know. Okay,
You're right, Paul.
so
Single family,
we'll go back to,
2-stall garage, 2 bathrooms, laundry, kitchen on the first floor.
so send this one back for
Yeah.
some rework based on what's been mentioned here today.
So I think you said that you guys had started working on the standard specs,
I found other
a
towns.
bunch of towns.
I have a bunch of them in the office that I've looked through. Yes, just haven't
Probably have George and,
get to him yet.
probably mostly George, but probably get some opinion from
Same
Brian.
with B and C, they be in the specs.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can avoid all that open right, open and close.
Yeah, that should be in a spec, that shouldn't be in a policy.
Right.
Number 5 is just, you know,
Right, number
it's
5.
restating the policy you just received, you know. That can be cut down to one line. Any service extending more than 100 feet from the main will require a meter pit. That's it.
Yeah, get rid of everything.
You can get rid of.
Because you will have an approved meter pit when the time comes.
You know, the laying of, bedding and all of that, the top cover and all of that, that's all, that again would all be in specs. You know, the Ford brand, the Erie boxes and Eddie hydrants. That again is all specs.
That's what I was.
Try to make the policy is gonna drive people towards the spec. It doesn't have to restate it.
Right, and then if you change your specs, then you gotta go through and find where you're.
Yeah, you
writing
have
all
to
the
find every
policies.
place where it's been mentioned, yes.
Yeah, you'll just, all control fittings will meet
Okay,
water sewer specs.
right. Okay, what else do we have here?
Fire department.
Yeah, we have the fire department one. Okay, there we go. Okay, and okay.
Take out the word design.
Okay, now,
Well, this document is a little different. This is for the board of what the basic setup is at the fire department after discussing this with the chief and going through some things. This doesn't include the radio upgrades or anything like that we're doing. This is basically the procedure that is going to, it has actually been followed, but to reiterate it as being what it should be, okay? And the fire command is to notify dispatch. Now, dispatch has been spoken to, I talked to Director Linsky on this, okay? To set up something even on his side, to, on any fire in Dudley, notify water. And he couldn't guarantee me that could be done with the crew on hand at his dispatch there, because they may be doing multiple things. However, he did get it, and he was gonna try to implement it, but regardless of that, the procedure for the fire department is to notify the water department, any structure fires, brush fires, big trainings, we're using multiple lines and things, monitors for trainings, mutual aid coming into town, whatever, which usually falls in any of those scenarios, okay? We also, the fire, no, we were not requiring it for car fires, filling of trucks, small little trainings. They do, however, account for the water they have a written document that whenever they fill a truck, tells how many gallons it took, or what they did, or what they used. So we have a running accountability of the water, okay?
But you say not for emergency use. Why are you not requiring the accountability for emergency use?
It is, you can't judge how much water you poured onto a multiple alarm fire. They can't tell me that.
The fire department can guess, he should have, and I'll be blunt, and I know they probably don't want me saying it in public, but have him overestimate. I'd rather have him estimate high, but
I mean, that's,
DEP will not allow us to estimate it. They need a letter from the fire chief stating this is how much water they used.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have them overestimate because it's going towards the unaccounted for. What we don't account for, if we're over 10%, we're missing out on opportunities for grants.
I'd be doing the estimating basically off of what we do. I'm basically all the time, but if I'm not, then I'd have to sit down with the
Saying,
chief.
you don't want it in here that they don't have to list an amount for emergency use. They can still estimate. You know you ran for 4 hours of that fire hydrant's gonna put out 600
Problem
gallons a
is,
minute.
problem is with that, Bob, is I don't know what the mutual aid companies have put in their tanks, and neither does the chief. And neither will they.
Estimate it.
We can estimate all we want, but we're not getting an accurate,
It
even
doesn't-
close to an accurate estimation.
But not
Because
getting it at all is water that you're
I
not
can get
accounting.
some
You know
kind
they
of.
used it.
We can get some kind of, but it's not going, we can go by what the degree of fire was, and I can put together something with him on that, if that comes to that.
It's gotta come from
But I
him.
can't get an accurate,
Like I said, it's not for the purpose of trying to bill them for it or any of that.
no,
You need
it's just
to
for
account for your
accountability. I know.
unaccounted for water.
Okay,
And
So
on the
anyway-
state list, you can see you've been over the unaccounted for every year by a significant amount. So you
And-
need to account for as much as you can to try to get you under. You're missing opportunities for grants that you could get.
I mean, there's also out there trainings, and sometimes they don't write it down, and I don't know what they're doing. But chief is out and away for the week, so.
But if we add to the policy that anytime he touches the hydrant, we need an estimate.
Well, we have that already written down, and they write it down whenever they tap in a hydrant or fill in a truck.
It's
That's,
not on the policy.
it's,
Is it?
we have that, okay, I have it learned further on, we have it for accountability. We've had that running right along.
They've got them.
no, this is something I did.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I made sure everybody.
That's for George, and there's 4 more copies here. I went through what you presented, and you presented something, and don't take this the wrong way, but you're in a situation where you've got dual responsibilities.
Need
So-
any more down there?
Huh?
Is there multiple pages?
There's 2 pages. There's 2 pages, yes.
Is all missed?
You should have 2 pages, yes. One is almost all red, and one's got red and blue and black. But in any case, what I did is I went through in a standard format, the black wording is what was there. Red is what I've added, and then blue is words that I would say would be strikes. I would eliminate. Or, in the case, like all the notes that are on the bottom of the second page, those are all incorporated in the red. So, I understand, George, you're in a tough situation. As superintendent, you're responsible for the water system. But as a fire lieutenant, you're responsible for protection of property and life and property. I get it. You can't hold both of those as your primary responsibility at the same time. It's darn near impossible, and I don't think anybody could.
To be honest with you, I prefer you not even thinking about the water system when you're trying to fight a
Right.
fire. I want you focused on that.
So what I did is like I said, all of the red that I added incorporates much of almost all of the blue what I changed over to blue. Just trying to, for example, in the first paragraph, the design purpose of this document is to ensure that the town's water department is correctly notified whenever any emergency or non-emergency situation or emergency situation, striking the word incident, it's just using a different word, will require the use of the municipal hydrants/water supply. This also will incorporate, rather than just the fire department, it incorporates any use. If a contractor wants to hit a hydrant to grab
Street
water
sweepers
for
or-
doing anything, if the highway wants to hit it with a street sweeper, if there's, if somebody were to request using a hydrant to fill a swimming pool,
Mr. Chair?
here. Well, I didn't put in that filling of swimming pools is not allowed, but it's here.
Mr. Chair?
But and again, this is all a draft, so, I'm not saying that my wording is perfect.
No, first of all, in all the other policies, we said the purpose of it. This one here was saying the design purpose.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Well, the word design, yeah, the
I
the
take that.
purpose.
Also, one of the problems we have is not so much correctly as promptly. So I would add the word promptly in there, that the Water Department is correctly and promptly notified. Because I think that's one of the big bitches we had, is that all this takes place and they let you know after the fact, but not so that it could be prevented.
Okay.
And I think the purpose isn't so much that we're ensure the town's water department is correctly notified.
Yeah, that was my soapbox,
The purpose of this is
the first
to
paragraph.
protect the public health,
Right?
Protect the
And-
public water.
to protect the public health of the public water users, and to protect the infrastructure. So when they're pulling on the lines and we have no tanks online, and you're trying to rely on temporary bladder tanks, it's a different circumstance. And if they're just trying to operate under normal circumstances, and we don't have the booster station running, and we don't have the wells running, you're gonna suck all that water out. And then if you've drained the water main down and then you turn booster station on, that's gonna create one hell of a water hammer when you're filling an empty pipe up and it slams full. That's probably how you ended up with a broken water main that next day.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's really to
there's a
protect
lot more
the-
that needs to be worked in, but what I tried to do, and I tried to make this not about just the fire department, but about any use of the public water system.
Right, and
And, I'm sure I don't have I didn't get everything right, because,
yeah, I don't like your still would like amounts.
huh?
So I don't like your wording, still would like amounts.
Well, that's why still would like, that's blue. I'm saying, wipe that out.
Yeah, I don't like the still would like, it's,
No, we don't like it, no, making, what I'm
require
saying is
any-
the statement should be in-town apparatus to fill tanks off hydrants, making every effort to use the yard hydrant at fire headquarters, period. Usage in gallons must be reported to the water sewer office. Put the word must in there, it has to be. That's the policy. If somebody wants to, our policies have to be firm, they have to be, they have to have teeth. To say we would like to have it, that's that we would like to have means, if we don't have it, so what? I just can't. Training, I mean,
and I understand they don't know how many gallons they use, but they have an educated guess. I mean, this is their profession.
Yeah.
They run hydrants, they run water, they're spraying water, they know how many gallons a minute they're flowing.
Pumps 1,000 gallons per minute.
That's what I mean. You talk to any firefighter that's running an engine, they know how many gallons a minute their truck pumps, what it's capable of. If you ran for 3 hours and a pumper truck.
If it's a
pumps
single
1,000
truck and they're
gallons-
doing a single job, that's no problem. If you're running multiple trucks coming in and out of multiple lines, that becomes a problem. Then they're just guessing and throwing numbers out.
I'll take a guess over nothing.
Anybody can give a number.
You're right, anyone can, but they won't accept our number. It has to come from the fire department.
and
Trust me, I've had the argument with the state.
the change in number one there, filling the trucks. If we could, we'd like to do the filling of trucks at the yard hydrant at the station, simply because we know the pipe, all of that pipe is all new, all brand new.
That's always the commonplace anyway. The only reason it's because it's out of service.
That's the easiest, and you know, that's why just making every effort. There's times when that's not gonna be possible, but.
In your fire station, don't you have a larger diameter?
2-inch drops come down to each
To fill those
bay.
trucks, right? So why wouldn't you fill it in a
Well,
warm
Because
environment?
it takes a while for filling 1,000 gallons or 2,500 gallons, so they use the one at the station commonly.
Okay.
And that's understood. I mean, we're not
Also, I'm
looking
guess-
to tell them they
I'm
can't
guessing
do
the
something.
2-inch goes through their meter,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
so that's why they wanna use the hydrant.
but if we use that hydrant, and that also will minimize using that hydrant at the station,
Matter, it's still part of their.
I believe will minimize,
Dirty water
stirring up
flows.
dirty water in other parts
I
of
don't
town.
like 'em. I don't-
In the old parts of
Yeah, I
town.
don't like them using that hydrant at the yard because of the dirty water. They've used it before because it was, you know, it was available to do it because we didn't have ours available, but it didn't cause a problem because they did it very slowly, like I told them to do, and we were able to get through that filling.
Oh,
And okay, that brings up the other, the last line on the first page. Operation of all hydrants or other attachments must only be done by properly trained personnel and in a way to minimize water hammers. I don't know if there are any other,
eliminate the S, hammer.
yeah, water hammer, okay, yeah. But I mean, this was just all my thoughts, but take a look at it. and-
Quick question on filling.
See what-
Don't we have a hydrant right at the property boundary to the sidewalk that's tied into a brand-new Dr. Lyon main? Why wouldn't they fill their truck there,
Which one, what are you talking about?
at the fire
The
station?
new yard hydrant.
Is there
Yeah.
a hydrant there? Why wouldn't they fill it there on their property?
Because they use a 5-inch line to fill their truck and it can stir the water up going up Mason Road. People getting calls.
Isn't most of Mason Road new now?
All
Yeah,
of
no,
it.
but you're still raising a 5-inch line up, opening it up hard, flushing hard, filling it up fast. It's gonna stir it up the water, especially up the houses, number 7 up, going up. So I tried to tell them, you that way, very slow. Just fill it slow
All
and
of
easy.
that main was just replaced.
That's right.
So
So it
it's-
still
it's-
can stir it up when you're raising a main now, and you're opening it up at full bore, filling the truck. So it happens all over town as we go, even on new mains.
Yeah, but the
You will
biggest
stir
truck
up the
is the
water.
tank truck. How big is that?
2,500 gallons,
What's the average engine? 500 gallons?
1,000 gallon. 1,000 is engine 2, 500 is engine, 700 is engine 3, and 2,500 is engine 1. It's a matter of how they fill it. They're opening it up full and letting it fill full bore. You're
doesn't
gonna
that
get some
kinda-
stirred up water.
Contradict what you just said, that they fill it from the hydrant because they wanna do it fast as opposed to the 2-inch inside?
I recommend them using the 2-inch inside. That's what I recommend to them. If they're gonna use the hydrant outside, I tell them to do it real slow. And when I'm not there, which has happened before, they've opened it up and we've got some calls.
And that's why, okay, and that's why we need to, we asked them to participate, they didn't want to, so. We need to set policies to protect, and, okay, we can make corrections up there. I was trying to come up with the right words, and clean water was all that was stuck in my head. Public health. Protect the public health.
Dumbfounded. We have hydrants, but we don't wanna use them.
It's not a matter of not using
We
it.
have an infrastructure system of, miles of new water main, and we put the hydrant at the fire station for that purpose, to fill the trucks up, and we've got a new, 8-inch water main on Mason Road, and we're saying not to use it?
Commonly, they're not supposed to use a 5-inch. They've gone to 5-inch for filling. A 3-inch line is perfectly good for filling a
How come
truck.
they use it
Well, then-
And that's-
2.5?
But
Even so.
properly trained personnel.
As long as they fill it slow, but
Well, why do
try
they
not
have
to
to
have a
use a
problem.
5-inch?
That's what I'm getting at. Why do you use a 5-inch?
What's the difference in time
Yeah.
to fill the biggest truck from empty?
Nothing much, because it's an 1.5 fill valve inside the tank to it, so it doesn't save them any time.
So to go in from a 5-inch to a 3-inch,
On the inside the tank as it gets into the tank, but you still got the whole line like this filling up. wrapping up, so they're opening up, filling that whole line quick into the truck. That's what does the.
That's what
stirs up
causes the water hammer too.
Yeah.
So,
Is there
and
a
that,
way-
again, properly trained personnel. If they don't know how to do it, they need
Is
to
there a
be
way
trained
to-
on how to do it.
Now, they can connect the 5-inch line right to the hydrant. How do they, if you connect a 3-inch line?
There's different valves that they can connect directly onto the hydrant. They can even do right off the 2.5 port with a 2.5,
Okay.
3-inch line.
So-
It's a 2.5.
What if we get rid of the 5-inch connection?
You need the 5-inch connection, because now they use
That's
all.
steamer ports always.
They'll storage valves
That's on
now and
every-
all.
That's on every
Hydrant
hydrant.
assist valves that go right on the 5-inch, but you're talking about a fire, that's not for filling trucks. That's for when you're
No, I
doing
meant for the
multiple.
one at the fire department.
But if they're using it to fill the truck,
They're just going off a side port. On the, when they're using a 5-inch, they're using the big port. But when they're using a 3-inch, they're gonna use the small port, which is,
All right.
which one I prefer, just go off. You don't need to do any bigger than that.
Right, but what you prefer isn't gonna happen, it's whatever they wanna do. That's what they're gonna do.
I don't know why we actually, I've been talking to this, I don't know why we actually went to a Storts type, to the 5-inch fills. We used to have a small snake, a 3-inch snake, so we used to do a 2.5 snake, fill right into
Well-
the auxiliary fill, it'd be fine.
then, because in that situation, that's a non-emergent use. Sorry. And that's why emergency response, and then non-emergency, which includes trainings, non-potable needs, and construction. And anything else that anybody else can come up. Any needs to take water from the municipal hydrant must be scheduled through the Dudley Water Sewer Department office. Period.
Okay, I actually like this, Scott, but I don't know if we're supposed to be in the policy or not, but what's the recourse if it doesn't happen?
Well, that's,
Because we could make this thing 10 pages long, if they don't gonna adhere to it, it's not even worth it.
that, I guess,
I'll tell
we
you,
have to explore through other avenues what our recourse is.
2 o'clock in the morning, a volunteer fireman going to a working fire, hits a hydrant, he doesn't have calling the water department on his mind.
No, but, and he
Yeah.
shouldn't.
He has
And-
that
But that's,
connection and getting water flowing. to
that
the
is,
fire on
that
his
is
mind.
up to the command structure, the bosses, to determine how that's gonna happen. We've talked, we've had discussions, about different ways that could happen.
We
That's
just-
up to them to get it done.
We just had a house fire the other day.
On Marshall Terrace, right.
Fire department was notified, the water department.
What was today, on my way here, I seen a fire truck flying up with the red SUV in front of it,
Yep.
heading
On a
off
green
of Pine Street, heading up towards, heading up Charlton Road.
Yeah, I was a dipping at the time when.
Yeah,
that
2
went.
calls, just now when you come in here?
Just
We had
before.
2 calls, I was on one, we had one for smoking area, and another one for Green Street, and then one from Green Street was going to the one, because we didn't know sure it was a house or what
It
it
was
was.
just a response, yeah, at that time,
Yeah, it
at that
wasn't-
point, it was a response.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they just, do what they want, then I guess we have to explore and escalate.
This all just kind of.
Because our responsibility, in that first paragraph.
I know.
Protection of
Protect
public
the
health
water,
and
backflow,
and
et
clean
cetera.
water.
But this all happened this year because the tanks are being worked
Well,
on and
yeah,
we're in a drought.
unfortunately, we
We
had
had
all
that.
the worst circumstances
Yeah,
all
it-
come
it-
together.
They
at
all
once.
came together.
The worst fire you've probably seen in town.
20 years, and the tank
The
down.
tanks are down, you're working off a small
And we're in a drought.
portable tank,
In a severe
and you're
drought.
in the most
Perfect
drought
storm.
we've ever had.
And the
But-
pressure at that Mill Road was 130 pounds, which the next week, Stonka's gotta come out and work on the valve.
But I
because,
will tell you
We're waiting for
20
parts for that.
In the 21-plus years that I've been on the water department, and for the period of time I was on the fire department, I can always remember hearing gripes and moans and complaints about water hammers that have caused water main breaks. I've been hearing it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it a million times.
But there's never
Sunny
been.
side, sunny side, you were good for that. Anytime Webster came in and
But-
opened a hydrant, boom.
But with, I mean, we've been talking about putting stuff in writing. This is just another one. yeah, it did come to a head, and will this situation ever happen again?
Probably.
No. Well, we having the tanks drained down already.
Yeah,
and
but that's what the
drought.
policy, this has gotta be.
It's
We
reactionary.
gotta think worst case scenario.
It's reactionary, and yes, we have to consider worst case, and we need to do what we need to do, and we need to set policies that are in the best interest of the water and sewer users, in this case, the water users, and that's it. Now, we also have to consider the fact that in an emergency, the fire department needs the water. Yeah, we get it, but there are ways to do it. In that particular situation, Brian could have sat up in his bed, pulled out his handy dandy smartphone, turn on booster pump, turn on station 7, turn on station 6. Okay, and rolled over and gone back to bed, no problems. All the water that's being pumped is being pumped to the standpipe. Good to go. Or he could get up at that point and or he could call the on-call person and get them on their way in to maybe boost the
Booster station.
the booster station, kick that up so that it's pushing more water up to the tank, whatever. Any number of things that they put a big part of the no water situation could have been answered. The possibility of not having, the fact that we drained our system was drained.
How much did it cost us in repairs?
All totaled, somewhere in the vicinity of between $10,000 and $15,000. Just rough guessing based on vouchers that have gone through.
Remember, this is
But we
once in a
spent-
20-year, once in our
But
lifespan.
we
I don't
s-
want friction with the fire department because we need their help also. There are times George wants to get up on top of the tank, and I don't feel like hiring a crane with a bucket.
Well,
to
they're
put the
putting a
guys
ladder up
there.
the side of it, won't need it.
Yeah, well, that's not to say, yeah, try carrying a 5-gallon pail of shock, you do it. You
Yeah.
take the 5-gallon.
No,
pail
I'm not doing it off that
and
ladder.
walk up the ladder with it when you have to shock the tank.
But
We're not, I don't think any policy we put,
We still need, you still have to get along.
we still have to get along, but we also don't want to, and this is just my opinion, our responsibility here is to the water sewer, water district, the water.
Can we have
water
a
users.
training at the fire department some night with the guys?
That's
on
been
that
talked
hydrant?
about for 20 years and it's never happened.
Just go, George sets it up, we go down there some night, when they're having a training with the guys, please, these are the do's and don'ts.
I've had trainings with them at certain times about the water system itself.
You can put all you want on paper. I don't care if the book is this thick, no one's gonna adhere to it.
Then we do what we have to do.
I think a lot of this
And I won't
turned
talk
into
about that
a
in an
lot
open
bigger
meeting.
issue than it needed to be. Like I said, originally the discussion was, let's get a policy in place to notify the operator so he can make those
That's it.
changes. I think
Very
it-
simple.
I think it got blown out of proportion a lot. There's simple measures that can be put in place, but like I said at the last meeting, I'm not gonna tell the fire department what they have to do managing their systems.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I have
But
systems
they're
in
not gonna
place that
tell
they
us how to
use.
manage our system.
Right, oh, they can't, they don't.
They can't.
They don't know the rules and regulations.
I am going to talk to Director Linsky about implementing a program in the app for the two phones, my phone and the call phone.
But that's,
Because I like
again,
that setup. I don't have that setup. And that'll give the.
but again,
on-call-
it's not really up to well,
He has to do it. I asked the chief, he can't do it. He said you have to have Director Linsky.
okay,
do
well,
that.
that's fine, but again, we should have a policy. And this is, again, most of the discussion tonight has been concerning the fire department and one fire call.
Not
But
just-
this also addresses construction, this addresses
Hydro
highway,
seeders.
it addresses
Street sweepers,
street
everybody that hooks on
sweepers,
highway.
And we do that already. We have
addresses
accountability of
somebody
water
trying
from
to
the street
fill
to the
a
highway.
new in-ground
anybody.
swimming pool. Actually, it doesn't, because it's not in there that the municipal water system
That's where the pool water.
cannot be used for filling pools, filling swimming pools. If you want to put your garden hose into your swimming pool and do it that way, go for it. We can just watch that meter spin.
This
But-
policy with the fire department should be like 5 sentences, do's and don'ts, simple as that.
Like I said, this was brought up to try to discuss it and come up with the options
Right.
that will work. I mean, I know in that kind of emergency, the first thing on their mind isn't, oh, I gotta call the water operator.
No.
Right.
You know, they're focused on
And
emergency.
again, the system could be set up in such a way that they don't even know what's happening.
And that's what I had
And
said.
that's all we were asking for.
But I wasn't gonna dictate to them that they have to do things like
Right.
that, because they're in
How,
control.
how it happens, I know George had put some comments in there about, in the notes. It's not up to us to tell them how to do it. There are ways it can be done,
I will say, I did talk to the chief today,
okay?
on my way home today. And I had the conversation with him over some of the methods, and he said that that's the first he's heard of the IM responding, or that request to have them added to the IM responding or the Zello app.
Zello, that's his name.
Zello, well, the Zello's good to get the details, so you know if it's something you have.
He didn't know
to
much,
add.
when I talked about it, I said, can you put it in? He says, I don't, Linsky would have to put it in or something.
I don't know who the admin is on it. That's,
He's the one
it
that
could
does
be
it.
Linsky, but it's probably gonna be a request from the chief to add
But
it.
that's right, you know,
Like I
for us
said,
to
that's-
ask to be
it's-
tied in is, it's not up to us, it's
We're
gotta
not gonna
come
go
through them.
dictate that. If that's the method they wanna use, which I think is probably the most sensible, cause then he doesn't have to worry about it. And, you know, he expressed to me that, you know, he notifies the water department because you're always there. And I expressed to him that you're not there as a water employee, you're there as a firefighter. That's
That's right.
not the first thing on your mind as a water system. You're there to
You-
focus,
you
and you
cannot-
report to him. You're worried about following his command and putting out a fire. You're not worried about your water system at that
And
point.
that's the way it should be, and that's why, and one of the points
I can
I changed
understand
it
the
to
confusion.
primary operator or designee. Because, and it's not even using any particular person. You're, in this case, chances are, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, you're gonna be on one of those trucks. Well, at that point, you're not a water employee, or you are, but you can't be holding that as your primary responsibility. Because your responsibilities are something totally different. That's understood. It's the way it is.
If you're there fighting,
And honestly, George, you shouldn't have to, when you hop
met-
on the truck and, oh, wait a minute, I get out the phone or your tablet and say, let me boost the pumps or whatever you got. It's better for, you know.
you don't know how to do it from your phone anyway.
I was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
But you shouldn't be worried about sitting there
That's
saying, oh, I
exactly-
gotta call Brian to do this. You're either driving
Yeah.
a truck or you're trying to pull hose.
That's tough.
That's not the first thing on your mind. I
And
understand that.
any
The most
non-emergency,
remote item.
any non-emergency use of the water system needs to be
I think
scheduled
if
through
we
the
can
office.
just get on the call system, it would alleviate.
Right, but like I said, that's not our
95%.
call.
But that's not our call.
So that's why when we originally had this conversation, I had said it'd be good to have a representative from the fire department so that we could make the suggestion and they could determine whether or not they want to do that. If they don't,
That
we'll have to
was-
come up with another method, but
That was the
It's
whole purpose of asking. I asked him right over in that area of this room if he could come. He or his deputy could come, and he said, sure. And then the response changed in 48 hours.
well, there's a lot of he said, she said that goes around, and you don't know what
Well, I mean,
gets changed between here and there, and
And then that's,
so things may get blown out of proportion, and
they may, but
I try to take that into consideration, but like I said, we can only manage what we can manage, so.
right. And our responsibility is the water system. Okay, so where are we at? This is just one
Yeah. I like
between,
it.
between the two.
I think we
Or
need
if somebody
something.
has something different.
I think to protect the water users, we need something. We need a policy.
But it isn't just I mean, and to be honest, in the beginning, I would wipe out the fire department part of the title. The
Hydrant use
protocol.
protocol.
Hydrant use protocol, period. And that covers everyone. Somebody wants to open a hydrant so that the kids can play in the water, schedule it. You know?
Be cool.
Well, George will build.
Of course, we didn't know the bad the bad four letters, but back in the day, I can remember with my son in Oxford Center, playing in 6 feet deep firefighting foam. You know, I mean, that was open hydrants, and they had that big fan from Medway or somewhere out there. They got that truck mounted fan. Oh my God. What a blast. But in any case, yeah, I mean, it's not a policy aimed at the fire department.
we want
It's a
to-
policy.
Chairman?
What?
Do we want to go through this again? Or do you-
That would be my suggestion. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts.
make
But
a
I
motion?
wanna deflect this from being aimed at the fire department. It's not. It's,
Make a motion, we table this policy till the next meeting so we can read through it.
I mean, doesn't
I think
even
it
have
still
to be.
needs a lot of work.
Doesn't need, yeah, it doesn't need a motion. It's just,
yeah.
we'll just table it.
Well, I just wanted to,
Table it till the next meeting. But yeah, go through
back on
it,
track.
take a look at it, and I understand I'm in the same boat as you are. There are options that we have to prevent violation of this. Do I even want to, they were brought up to me, I looked at, I don't want to go there. Oh, no. That's the last place I want to go, because that's just a football.
They're our property.
That's going to make
They're
me
our property,
make us the
we're
football.
responsible for them.
Right.
And obviously, you
When the
don't
stuff
want to
breaks, we have to
endanger
fix it.
Potable water. Simple as that.
We need to protect the water system and.
And they, we protect them, but they need them for fire protection.
Right,
You know?
absolutely. And it is-
Double-edged sword right here.
Yep, okay, so,
And the employees that are legally responsible fall under our jurisdiction, so we need to give them the tools to be able to do their job.
right.
safely.
So we'll take that up on the next meeting. The water ban protocol violation, is that, that's it? It was in my folder.
It may have just been left from last time.
Violation notice, okay, that's just left, okay. Okay, I know, we dealt with that already. I don't see any other policies.
Those are 3 that we had.
Those were just those 3, okay, so two of them are gonna be brought up again, are tabled for further work. The subdivision, and this is the first shot at the subdivision thing, and that's gonna be, that doesn't involve just us. So that's gonna take some work, and the hydrant use policy will need some work as well. The superintendent's report, this is held over as well?
Yeah.
That's just extra in my folder?
No, that you guys didn't discuss.
We didn't do it
Oh,
last
we
time.
didn't discuss it last time, okay. Okay.
Part of it was the warrant stuff we just discussed, the other part was the fire. There wasn't something in here I wanted to go over, it was a new hire because of vacancy gonna be coming up for the sewer plant operator, probably March timeframe. And as of right now, as you know, the jobs are not combined positions, they're separated as they were back in the day. The last hire was done through the water, the opening now will be in the sewer. The object of the game is that the present plant operator would retire, the secondary would move up in there, and there would be a person to go fill the place of the secondary. The issue comes into play is the training. Right now, winter's coming, training, to get somebody in there right now is really not so great a thing, and I don't really have a budget for an entry-level position, which will have to be a labor position, entry-level, temporary, to get the person going, to start learning the trade come just after, say, January or February, like when the retiree is gonna be around March timeframe, just as they, month or so play time, just to get some money in the account to pay this person into a labor's position, a starting entry position, learn the job, then the move off will happen, and then the transfer into the other position. So it'll keep us, should keep us in good with the union, and it'll give the sewer its new employee. He'll also be a helper for the water department like they all are over there, same way. Anytime we have something big and vice versa. It's going to be, I'm sure, a highway individual coming over. They're gonna have a 90-day period of evaluation. And I can't really evaluate in the wintertime, there's not gonna be much to evaluate, but it's more towards the time period of the leave and where they're gonna start working on jetting and doing sewer work. Would be the time to see if this person even wants the job, likes the job, whatever. So I'm, right now, it's just a informational thing for the board. If this works out, I'll have a plant operator that has both water and sewer, has water licenses to operate in the water. They're both gonna be required to, certain things like confined space, the collection system. They're gonna have some certificates for collection. We'll have all our guys on the water side with licenses and everything. We'll be all set on our side. But that's kind of where we're leaning to right now.
Can we get
Go ahead.
job descriptions for both jobs? For our
I
next meeting?
thought
Just
we
to-
wiped out
Just
the
to,
position laborer.
We didn't have a labor position on the sewer side. We have one on the water side right now. It would be just a special entry-level labor position.
if we,
Don't,
if we get the job descriptions for both jobs, to give us a starting point.
absolutely.
To decide, this is what we want as a head operator, what do we wanna call it, and then this is what we want for a laborer, or.
We
whatever
have a
you wanna
sewer
call it.
operator and a secondary sewer operator. Those are the two job
Primary water
descriptions.
operator, secondary water.
Yeah.
Operator, right.
Right.
And then just an operator, I believe is the third water.
Yeah. So what
Do you want them
hap-
all? I'm so sorry.
I would get all the positions, I'd get all the job descriptions.
I'll have them for the
still,
next meeting.
Right.
I still have issues with job descriptions and the way they're written, but
Well,
what
let's-
happened with the position that we approved? Was it, I think we had kind of opened it up that it was a
Part-time.
part-time, full-time.
Nobody put in
5%.
for it.
Not one applicant.
So
Nobody wants to work.
what did we have that at? It was, we kept it
$18
10,
an hour.
$20 an hour, yeah.
but we kept it at 1040 a year, hours.
Yep. Nobody wants to work.
So is the theory to kind of expand that to a full-time position?
Just a temporary, like in a month span, a couple weeks, just to make the transition so he can start learning. But then when when the retirement goes in effect, he would automatically move into that other position. So there'd be two back in the sewer. Same game plan.
So, staff-wise, you're looking, I mean, you're trying to create a position so that we can fill an existing position.
No, I'm trying to put in a special entry position just to learn, a time period to learn the trade a little bit while the other operator's still in place, so they can work.
Yeah, we're creating a position to fill a
Fill a
position.
position.
Yeah,
So,
fill a retirement.
It's a temporary,
It's an entry position, temporary entry position.
so you get 2 sewer positions,
Yep,
2 water positions,
3 water positions,
Three water.
3. And you.
and me.
So 3 positions, 2 positions. Is this current plus the part-time that we had? We had earmarked a part-time position for up to 1040.
Yeah, we could take some of the funding for the part-time and move it for this.
That's what I'm getting at. Do we,
You've got enough there
Yeah.
to fund half a year.
so,
I'm using our laborer's position as the salary to base it on, what our guy is right now, that just came into the water. I'm just using that as a baseline position. When he moves into this other position, he'll get a little bit of a bump, just because of the way it's designed, that's all.
so I'm just thinking, do we turn that temporary position or the part-time position into a full-time position so that you have a training position, so that hopefully that person would get some experience on water, would get some experience on sewer, and if either position opens up, 'cause you got other people that are at points that either they could move on or retire.
It-
So,
You mean keep a position open as an entry position for,
have an entry-level position.
Both.
You need somebody to cut grass, shovel walkways in snowstorms.
That's what I've been talking about for the last 3 months. I've got a full-time position.
I'm also expecting things to simmer down like they are right now. So we're catching up on all of the stuff that this position would do.
I know that you think that you're gonna slow down after all these projects are done, but there is so much stuff that is not being done.
Oh, there's always so much.
You're flushing, you
didn't
get
do
dirty
any
water
flushing?
complaints because you don't flush enough.
You didn't
Your
do any
valve
flushing?
have you ever done valve exercising?
Any jetting this
We had programs to do that. Everything stopped once our tanks went into, and until they come off again, then we go back into our regular mode. But that'll all start happening come springtime, and then the main project will come in. But that's nothing to do with us, really. That's,
Jetting could have been done.
But,
well, that's sewer. We'll
Didn't get
do.
done at all this year, did it?
Yes, it did. Yeah, they did jetting. They were out jetting.
I mean, you did a whole I&I study, so that was all, pretty much went through
They
this.
did stations. They did some avenues on Mason Road, the side streets and over there.
What I'm saying is there is so much work to do, and your operators, and you've got a new treatment plant coming online. That's gonna take half of one of your operators full-time, just dedicated to that. There's a lot of
We've
maintenance
had
stuff that's gonna
conversations
be
about
done.
driving around and doing the, just polling the meters to see what the usage is. Looking for abnormal usage.
This labor,
But
this,
the answer that I was given was, well, we can't because we don't have the time. Well, if you had another person, you'd have the time.
Right, I'm just saying that even
There's all kinds of things that could be done.
just the distribution maintenance alone, it's almost a full-time position, just having somebody exercising valves, maintaining hydrants. How many hydrants do you have in place?
right now, about 95. I have to 295.
So you can't have only 95.
No, 295.
So figure 300 hydrants. I mean, how much time do you think it
Oh,
takes
yeah,
to go
I mean-
through each hydrant every year to make sure they're operational? And then what needs to be repaired and maintained?
I mean,
You've got more than enough work.
we could put this as a new labor entry position and keep it at that, and then whatever, and then moving it on, whatever, but
What's the requirement for licensing for?
you
For an
can't.
entry level laborer, you don't need the licenses, but I would recommend that they work towards getting licenses so that they can,
Move up.
they can climb the ladder.
That's why I wanted to see the job description.
Right.
That's, yeah, I mean, we've been talking for the last 4 years, 5 years, however long it's been, talking about job descriptions,
Right.
about professionalizing, and everybody has the licenses, so everybody can do the work.
And I keep saying that
And
I want the
now
requirement.
we're going
for
backwards,
licenses.
we're gonna go back to hiring just a ditch digger.
But the positions that are in place, the 3 water and the 2 sewer, those are the ones that, from the beginning, I said those positions need licenses.
Right.
And then, yes, I agree, there should be a laborer position, but you don't need a licensed operator to cut the grass.
No,
to
you don't.
paint- To paint fire hydrants.
Nope.
But he can assist somebody else if they're maintaining the hydrant. When you gotta pull a hydrant apart to take it apart and pull the stem out or do a breakaway kit or something, it's hard to do by yourself. So if you had a second set of hands, you need a laborer to help with that
Well,
stuff.
right now, my intent was just to fill that position. If you wanna go full-time on a new entry position for labor, I can't require a license on that position. It's
That's what I'm
not,
saying.
so if you wanna go
Entry-level
full-time, we
laborer
can,
position.
But
we can do that.
this position that is gonna replace the retiree, what licenses will they be required to have?
They'll be required to have a collection system certificate. There's also plenty of other for confined space and a few others we had mentioned.
So we're not gonna require them to get a D1 or a D2?
No, they're not. It's not a water position, and I can't move it to that
This is
degree.
only a sewer position filling a
Sewer
potential
position, it's under
retirement.
the sewer union guidelines.
But those sewer positions, did they originally require a wastewater license?
No,
Well, they must have, because we have a wastewater treatment plant.
they're collection system only. They were not required.
Just saying, the positions at one time must have required a license,
Yeah, but
because
those
we,
people weren't working.
Louis Gribb was the only one that had
Louis.
a license at the time before
That's
they
probably,
went offline.
that's probably about.
They weren't
But
involved with that plant operational as an.
When the plant was a plant.
right, I'm just saying that at some point, I mean, did they go and rewrite the job descriptions other than what we've done? So those positions technically required a wastewater license.
Right.
I don't know what they did back then on position-wise. I don't think there's even any records back then of what,
And if Louis was the only licensed one, then you weren't meeting the regulations, because that plant had to be at a minimum of 3. I would guess it was probably higher than that.
That plant hasn't been in place for 25, 30 years.
I know, I'm just saying.
25, 30 years ago, who knows what they required
But
from
I'm-
us?
I know what they required, because I was running
almost
wastewater
positive.
systems then
didn't
too.
Bunham have a license
Yeah,
too?
Billy
for-
Carroll. Billy Carroll.
Chairman.
Oh, Billy Carroll did, that's right. So they had 2, Louis and Billy
Yeah.
Carroll.
Louis had the license back then because what we had left for a plant need to have the license, because the option from Webster is if they had to, they could pump back over to us to start.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
that's not the case anymore.
Well, unfortunately, when I read through the MOU
They can do it if they
and the
had to.
intermunicipal agreement
But not if we don't have a license.
for the wastewater plant, it expires in, what, 9 years?
Okay?
But it also says in there that they have the option, either them or us, to opt out of that plant. If they opt out of that, we're gonna have to reactivate a treatment plant. So if we reactivate a treatment plant, are you gonna lay off the current wastewater employees to hire people with a license that can run a wastewater plant? Or do you wanna have people and require them to work towards getting a wastewater license?
Okay.
For one, it benefits them professionally. You know, I've always been about having somebody improve themselves so that, you know, if they get stuck, they can move on, whatever.
Well, when we
Try
get the
someone
job
different, but-
descriptions, we can go through them.
I have been pushing towards getting people licensed and certified for the last few, how many, since before you've been on.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
actually, it's right around the time you
So
started.
that's- And that was one of my first things, is you need to require licenses in the job descriptions. The only position that shouldn't require a license, like I said, is the temporary
If you want
Not the
to,
temporary, but
if
the-
we want to hire a laborer.
laborer, right?
Just, that's,
And I would recommend they pursue licensing so
and
that
that
they can
laborer will
move
be a
into
water
position.
sewer laborer. They will work on both sides of the fence. Union be damned.
There is a collection
Grievance.
license.
Yes,
out there for
certificate.
sewer.
There is, it's 1 through 4. I would venture
lot of
to
guys
guess,
No, yeah, Timmy actually went to do his, but he went to do his, but
Does Mike have one?
no.
And
to be honest, it's not a simple test. It's a
Not a
lot more involved than you think.
One of the classes.
It's a 3-day course, actually, too.
It is, and the test is not that easy.
So what we're looking at then, maybe not the potential of playing the union rule of who jumps on board next, advertising the position with a license suitable for the size town.
Well, the issue is also, I have to have him learn sewer specifically to help when when
Okay,
retirement happens, and there will be an opening there immediately.
do we need to look for somebody with a wastewater
Yeah,
license?
that's the next thing.
That's what I'm concerned about, just reading through that and based on the tensions over this whole reconcile the bills, I would want to be prepared for that.
I can email you the job descriptions tomorrow, but I'll print them for next month as well,
Right.
but this way you can
Yeah,
look
email
at
them so we can go through them and look at them and bedline them.
Yeah.
I mean, that actually worked out very good. I just,
Maybe we
well,
want
right on the
to-
computer, I just,
And maybe
Do you
we
need
want
this-
the top operator over there to have licenses.
Basically, we're not compliant as far as our collection system goes with any of the state regulations now then?
No,
That's not necessarily.
not necessary for that.
we're compliant with the letter of the law. But if, for some reason, Webster were to say,
No,
we're ending the,
Jay's point is the collection system license.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, you're not compliant.
The collection system license is it's separate from a wastewater license.
okay,
So you don't need a wastewater license to get a collection system license. There's more involved, but the I would venture to guess you're probably around a 2. If they classified it, a 2 collection system, so. I would say we should require that license, because then they understand collection systems, how they operate.
It's a skilled position.
Exactly.
right, it's not just,
And there's a lot more involved, there's a lot of, if you don't understand it and can find space, which going through that course and everything, they'll emphasize, you break the plan of the break the plane of that, you're in a confined space, you need to follow all those rules. But just bringing someone in and saying they're, I don't even know what you're calling it, a sewer operator.
That's why I don't like the word laborer, just,
Right. But a laborer position, I'm fine with a laborer position.
okay, if we have,
For
if we
cutting
wanna
grass,
create one of
painting
those,
hydrants,
create one.
if they need to go around
A
and
water sewer laborer.
You're breaking, we're talking a skilled position now,
the
replacement
one
of
that
a
you need to
skilled-
replace.
Right,
yes.
right.
Right. But I think long-term, we should be looking at that temporary position, which is not very attractive to people right now.
But this is,
But if you bring in a laborer position, that's a full-time position.
Right.
The pay's not gonna be at the rate of an operator or a, either water or sewer operator.
Right.
right
But
now-
they would have something to work towards, and it would give them incentive to better
This is a top
themselves.
priority, what George is talking about now.
It is, so we don't have that time to go through that process, but I would prefer to start aligning it to get ready for that.
If we can get the job
Oh, if you-
descriptions, we can look at them for the next meeting in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
So you want to fill temporarily a position. So you currently actually have the temporary position available, which we've all approved. And we designed it to give you the leniency whether you wanted to do it 40 hours a week for 6 months,
Yeah.
20 hours a week for,
Yeah.
we gave that flexibility to you.
But as a union employee coming over here, we're trying to keep it uniform with the labor position or operator, just single operator position we have now, that we just filled. I'm trying to keep, just for that pay scale.
If it's the only.
To be honest, that's the risk they'll have to take. They have to take some of that risk on.
If it is going to be a laborer position, the fact that they have a hoisting license or a class 2 CDL, doesn't matter because it's a laborer position. It should be.
I don't want to design the position for,
But they have to have the ability to move into
People
the
to
other
move into.
position too, which means you have to have it basically set up like within the union.
no, we design the position if it fits.
That's right.
And then the union accepts that position. We're not going to design a position for the water and sewer department to suit another department transfer.
Right. It's gonna suit our needs, not their needs.
Design it for you, so you're not jumping through these hoops and trying to make everybody happy from other departments. That's not the purpose.
No, I'm having to follow the union rules that they've set up because of past practice.
Well-
And that is something that handcuffs us sometimes. So by doing this entry position is just to get somebody acclimated to the sewer and then from the union, to move into another part of the union.
If those two positions require a collection system license, I can tell you, nobody that doesn't understand the collection system is gonna be able to pass that test. So they're gonna have to understand it. Either they have experience or they go through the course. And if somebody that wants to move from another union position within town doesn't wanna put the effort forth to try to better themselves and align, if I wanna be a truck driver, I'm gonna go to truck driving school. I'm not gonna go to Coca-Cola and say, hey, hire me to drive trucks. I don't have a license, but hire me and then you pay for me to go get a license to drive a truck.
Right.
I'm gonna go get my license and then find a company that's gonna let me drive truck.
No,
Now,
you have to,
The part-time job we okayed,
And the whole thing with past practice, at some point, past
Actually
practice
fairly
has to end.
significant. I think it was
20,
And
18.
just draw the line. This is it. We're ending it.
that 18 wouldn't pay for, say, the guy coming over from highway.
Nope.
So again,
We're not
Right, that's what I mean.
designing the
So,
position.
if I wanna go run General Motors, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna pay to get my master's in business. I'm not gonna go to GM and say, hey, can you create a position so that I can become the GM and send me to school to get my license or my degree so I can run the company? If they don't wanna make the effort to better themselves, that's up to
We've talked
them.
about we've talked about any future water employee comes with a D1 or a
That's
D2 or
right.
whatever.
We're trying-
And now you're telling me a sewer person has to have that collection license, which I don't think any of us knew. I never heard of that before. Now,
We've been talking about licensing of all employees.
so you're telling
for a
me
couple of
we have
years.
to advertise that job, and you see them all the time in the paper, Spencer, Charlton, whatever. You're looking for a person with a collection license, suitable for this town. Like you
Right.
say, 1 through 4,
Yeah.
or whatever. That's
I would
that's the way
venture
it
to
looks.
guess we're probably a 2.
So, okay, so get the job descriptions out to us. But
Anything else on yours? Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
What's the situation with the stations and the water levels and all of that kind of stuff with
Everything
the
is
rain?
going all right right now.
But-
Recharging is doing a little bit better over at Station 6.
It's doing a little better, it's not
Better,
back
but
to
it's
normal.
Nothing's back to normal yet.
Okay,
None
all
of
right.
soft rain yet.
I know people, because it's been raining a lot, people are gonna start saying, well, why do we still have a ban?
They've already have.
Well, the first answer is, we've got empty tanks. We have a ban. Sorry. End of story.
They're pretty good about it.
Yeah, oh, I know. They are. I'm just,
They're just curious.
Well, the first answer is we're required to by law until
That's what I-
September 30th.
right.
Yes.
The second answer is we need to enforce it more than normal because we're in a critical situation.
That's what I've been telling them.
You only have two
Right.
well fields working.
And that's not gonna end on September 30th. I would, well, I'm only one vote, but I don't think it's gonna end on September 30th.
George, down the road, are you gonna, look for, like, we were discussing for another tank?
I've got ideas that I'm trying to put forward. I'd like to, I mean, this, first of all, I'm trying, as you know, we did for the water source, that didn't work out for us.
Yeah.
I think it's coming down to two sites, and one I'm leery about because of the issue with the PFAS situation down where the area it's in, and it's in that same area. The object was to pump it up towards the center of town, put through Gentex. But the other one may have to be an eminent domain situation. We have to start looking at that, number one, for a pumping station. As far as the tank goes, I was looking to see the logistics of throwing it past our tank on Bates Road towards Carmignati Field, where the town owns some property there, right abutting the field, close to the field there. But I don't know exact boundaries of where the town owns there. Get it off that agricultural, that Bates area there. Another one would be maybe towards the backside of like Gentex area over there, a smaller tank or something, if we decide to put another source down in that other area. We're juggling with a few ideas right now, but we're getting limited in the pumping, the station part of it, and I really want to tap the area towards the Quinnebog River, near the Quinnebog River.
I know, there's a personal tank at, the U-Tank.
Yeah.
What about that area?
The problem is in that area, I mean, the problem in that area is the pressure's low out that way. I mean, for just storage purposes, I couldn't tell you right now. I'd be guessing
Thanks for
because,
fire protection with a
I
jockey
understand.
and booster
Yeah.
pump.
I understand that, but
I mean, I could even, I mean, the best thing,
I'm
the
not
best
saying
use for
replace
me,
that tank, I'm saying,
the best use for me, tell you the truth, Tom, would be the middle school tank, because I got a pressure reducer valve right down the street from there, and I could send it down through Mason Road,
I
or,
wasn't suggesting use U-Tank's tank, I was suggesting.
no, I mean, I was looking at that tank site and that, is, you know, something off there for a tank, or up by that pressure reducer valve, you know, something on the hill up in there. Just looking at, spots, you know?
This land is behind the middle school.
Yeah, we own a lot of, the town owns some parcels, the school owns the parcels around. So that was an idea, because if there's a PRV valve right there, and we could,
There is a lot of land in that
there
area.
was some land up that area.
The houses are pretty close to it, so
Yeah, but behind the,
there are houses, town employee.
It'd have, it should
She
have
can,
to
she
be,
can see the school from her back porch. I mean, it's that close.
I think everybody's just guessing off of where they see property. I think we really need to look at the GIS map and the
Right.
topo map and say, all right, elevation-wise, what's gonna work, and then work within the elevations
Right.
to figure out where it makes sense to put it, but
that's why I was keeping it tight on where our tank is right now, and try to go on the back side of that and run along, just straight through to that area over there. I mean, it's kind of our highest point on that side.
Nation.
yeah.
Big John Deere green golf ball.
I prefer a golf ball tank. But
That's a few bucks.
really much any different than the other ones.
Give us some elevation though, too, so.
Yeah, well, that'd give us some elevation, which
You
gives us
gain a
some
little
pressure.
elevation, you get better pressure to help some of the town. And if you have an elevated tank, what do you got, a million gallons? What's?
Three-quarters of a
Bates?
million or whatever,
So Bates,
yeah.
750,000, you could probably get away with a 400,000 gallon elevated tank. So you decrease your size, because it's a lot more usable water.
Bates is gonna have to be replaced at some
So how
point.
those,
That's what I'm
how those
saying.
weather related, like a tornado or something, how those, I mean, I know they make,
They're designed and they have to be stamped and engineered to sustain
I don't know what the ring
this
rating is.
climate and this rating in New England.
Yeah.
It's just like a roof. I mean, we have to design roofs in New England different than roofs in Florida. Right,
Snow load, et
All right.
cetera.
right. So they have to be designed for this area.
So nothing else in the superintendent's
No,
report?
so, I mean, it's pretty- you guys have
We
gone
got
through
a
it anyway,
chance to
sewer,
look at it before.
yeah, sewer and everything in there. We still have heating systems we gotta put in before the cold season. The garage is completely without heat right now. Their oil tank is done, which we got rid of, and
So which garage?
the main water department garage needs a new furnace.
Little
and-
garage or the big garage?
Big garage.
Okay.
Needs a new furnace and a oil tank. Sewer department needs its furnace. That old boiler is, he's had it.
Okay,
So how big is the sewer department?
Same basic furnace, standard oil,
100,000 BTU probably.
yeah.
So,
Four section, three.
so
four
you
section.
being a plumbing inspector, I'm sure you're going through a lot of the stuff where they're trying to force out oil.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Force
well-
out all that stuff, so does it I mean, they did approve mini splits for,
Yeah, that's the goal,
primary
that's the
source
goal.
now,
We
right?
looked, we looked into that with
Eliminate
them
fossil
on
fuel.
gas, and that, can't put gas lines in there, that's too expensive.
right, so you can't do
Propane.
gas, and gas is still a derivative of
Yeah.
fossil fuel, so
Propane.
you're really looking at probably a mini split, so I don't know your opinion, I mean, I'm not a,
Well, they already have the radiation in there to heat the building. So it's just it's just a system of replace the boiler block and use the existing radiation.
right. I'm just saying, does it
Force
make
the
sense
water.
to start investigating? I mean, we need to start looking at further than right now, just repairing things. I mean, if,
No, I think George is on the right subject. You're gonna replace the boiler and the furnace. Because the size of your garage.
Yeah.
You know.
also, I mean, you're not gonna do a mini split to do that garage
No,
over on
no,
Main
no.
Street, it's just not possible, but.
Because the mini splits, you start getting down to that single digit weather,
The cold weather, they're not good for, but that's why I was saying, what's the area that
you're
you
gonna have a
need?
freeze up.
If you're just trying to keep it from freezing, that's one thing, if you're trying to
Well,
keep
we-
it comfortable
They're
for,
keeping it comfortable.
Keep it nice and we get up to 60 degrees in there and work
Because
comfortably,
they work in the
and,
garage.
Yeah.
And the guys are at the station down there, right? At
Yeah.
the plant.
and they have the same basic, small area that they have, is,
You're gonna have comfort.
and they have a brand new tank, oil tank is brand new, so.
okay.
I'm just saying, we gotta start thinking of the other things down the
Yeah.
road too. You don't wanna spend 10 grand putting a boiler in, or a furnace in, or whatever we're using down there, and then turn around and say, oh, we gotta
'Cause you
replace
got
it
that building's
in
multi-levels.
8 years.
At the sewer
With
department.
all the steps going down below to the lower level.
Mike already checked it out down in there, he was looking at.
Yeah, like I said, you already got the existing radiation on each level.
I understand that that's the simplest and
Yeah.
most logical thing to do right
Logical
now, but with all the crap that they're pushing, I mean, some of the towns are not allowing anything that's
They're
gonna.
right, they're right, yeah.
Because we're going through it right now, we got a 1.1 million square foot building, they're trying to tell us that they want them to heat it with electric.
The
I'm
heat
like,
pump technology.
out of your mind?
Listen, you can talk about green all you want, but you still need fossil fuels in New England.
Yeah.
When we start talking our temperatures.
Right,
Yep.
so,
I
okay.
understand, I'm just saying,
They need them in California too.
Yeah, yeah.
we need to start considering that
Oh, we don't live in California.
path when we're
They
making
can't
these
charge their
decisions.
cars.
All right. Board comments? Bob?
I did have one, just because you brought up the source thing, and I keep bringing it up as to the aquifer map and locating the spots. I'd like to get the aquifer map done. I mean, we keep bringing it up and bringing it up. They wanted to change it, I don't know if they made that change or not, to take the area out down over here.
I've already got an aquifer map designing for that area I'm looking at for a source.
I know, but you keep saying I wanna do it for the area that I'm thinking of, but, you know, like, you went for that one area and you said, all right, well, that's no good, we checked it. I just want to identify all the potential sites, because we need to protect them before they sell and someone puts up a building.
I presented that to the town planner, and suppose he's the one that has to go before and present it,
Well,
so.
It's-
but we need the map.
That's what I'm saying, I want the identified areas, and then we'll come forward with the proposal to go to the planning board and have it.
I have that communication between him and Jay Billings from Geoscience to make that setup. Yeah,
But an aquifer protection map should not be changed without it being endorsed by the water department. So the planning board shouldn't just be randomly saying, oh yeah, we're gonna take this out because this area is a good spot for us to put this in over here.
No, it's,
The idea is to protect the water source because you're gonna run out of water sources at some point.
that was explained to
Any
him too.
potential sources, and like I said at that meeting, I did not want that removed until every potential source was added.
Okay,
So
so.
I think
we
that
need-
it's.
We need the maps.
We're skipping processes here
yeah,
that.
because you need your perimeters,
Right,
circumference.
you gotta identify
area.
what potential areas
Yeah.
that you need to
All your
protect so they
protection.
don't.
We'll get the
develop.
maps.
I'll work on that.
And as we go through and you find out that it's not a plausible site, take it off the map.
Yeah.
We'll go back to the planning board, this didn't work, it's no good, let's get rid of that one, you can develop it. But if we keep just waiting and waiting and waiting, we're gonna lose all the potential sites and not have any potential sites, and we'll have nothing in the future.
Okay.
I'm all set.
Jones,
Oh,
Make a motion to
okay.
adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.